Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, with our ongoing series on human resource management, today we would be talking on spirituality at workplace, and for this very discussion we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Namita Rajput is Associate Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. So dear friends, let's welcome our guest Dr. Namita Rajput and let's try to understand more and more about the topic. Hello ma'am, welcome to the UGC lecture.
A very good morning to all the viewers. So today's topic is spirituality at workplace. This happens to be a very contemporary and a modern topic in terms of the HRM, that how the spirituality can help attaining the work goals, the organizational goals, attaining the productivity at its best. So there is a consensus that if the spirituality is embedded at any level, it is going to imbibe good values, it is going to imbibe the value driven action which can never be wrong. So starting with a quote given by Turner 199, the spiritual life is at root a matter of seeing, and it is all of the life seen from a certain perspective. So taking it to the business and the corporate level, let us have now look on what business means. Now, as a contemporary concept of the business, we do the business for the very purpose of attaining the profits, and it is basically to fulfill the economic goals of the people, like they want to earn profits, they want to have the best in life and in terms of the production and so on and so forth, and the center of the business is always the profit or the economic motive. So what primarily the business is to fulfill the economic needs of the society through the exchange of goods and the services from one another for money. So we have seen that in the contemporary world of today, everyone is so busy, everyone is so busy in taking out the profits and always on the road of the growth of the business and never thinking about anything else. So gathering from this concept, we say that the life of today's people is very mechanical in nature. It is definitely always controlled by some hierarchical structure which is there as a part of the organization, and we have always the financial dependency, but always at the center we have the money perspective in mind. Now basically we are overlooking this concept that we are moving away from the value driven actions, and the responsibility and the work we do is always action oriented and will always be centering around the economic motives. But if you see the flip side of it, we are ignoring the values, we are ignoring the basic concept of the society, we are ignoring the very purpose for which we are living. So here we talk about now that the business of today, the concept of today, it is nothing but it is making us ID, it is making us a computer, it is making us nothing but the mechanical machines. Now basically when you talk about the objective of doing the business, we have only one concept, that is the materialism. So materialism to some extent is okay, but as it throws away the basic value driven actions from us, it takes away the humanity from us, because for the very reasons of gathering the concept of materialism, we are running away from every other value driven actions of the society, and we are always running after money, and we always want to have the shortcuts which can really fetch us the good money. Over the night of today, we are only and only for money. So we are basically into materialism, and where man is becoming a machine. This is the main drawback of today, which is the heart of the contemporary business of today, that we are nothing concerned except the money. Now basically taking my presentation forward, the response to such scenario is what? You have seen this particular slide. There is an excessive past future anticipation. You are always engaged in unfulfilled longings, leading to a very stress driven life. So we have seen in this particular slide that a man is overloaded with work, he is overloaded with responsibilities. So this is the the outcome of the present contemporary world, that is we are overburdened with the actions which we are taking, we are overburdened with the responsibilities which we are taking, but the only problem is that we are not bothered about the real life conditions, the real life win of the situation. We are always running after money. So this is always giving us a very stressful life. Now, coming on to how spirituality can help us in attaining the corporate goals. This is the main topic of today. The role of spirituality is very important these days because it provides the individuals with the direction, meaning and the balance. And basically it provides the individual with the direction, meaning and balance in terms of achieving the organizational goals. It is making us more stable. It is helping us in every aspect of our life, and that too very peacefully. And it takes away all your stress, which is definitely causing a lot of issues in the world of today. Now, when you see the spirituality and the business together, we have basically 4 pillars in our life. The first is a spirituality, the second is emotional, the third is mental, and the fourth is physical. Now we see further that how all these 4 things together can give interactions and interrelationship of spirituality with the corporate world of today. Now let us first talk about body. Now, body is basically when you are overstressed with the work and with the cosmopolitan and the modern cosmopolitan lifestyle. It gives us a lot of headaches. It gives us frequent infections. It gives us the muscular twists. It gives us a lot of fatigue. It gives us a lot of skin problems, the skin irritation and the breathlessness. Because we are not machines as such, we are having a human body. So if you are engaging yourself or you're biting so much, which you cannot chew, really can, give a toll on your health. So which the body, the signs of the body show us. So this is one outcome of the modern contemporary world, that we are having a very stressful life, which is causing a lot of health problems in terms of body. Now let us talk about the emotional aspect, which is again the outcome of the modern lifestyle, basically the corporate lifestyle. The first is there is a loss of confidence. We have more fuzzy life, irritability, depression, empathy, alienation, apprehensions. So all these things, they come under the emotions, and definitely your emotional imbalances are very, very frequent when you talk about the modern lifestyle. The next is your mind. The mind is always worrying about how you can handle this strategy or that strategy. You're always muddling your head in terms of devising certain good work action plans so that you are above your competitors, etc. So, sometimes your judgment is impaired, sometimes your judgment is good, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but your mind is always at work, which is not a good sign, because every human mind needs rest, and to rejuvenate, definitely some kind of spirituality, some kind of meditation activity is very, very important. So it is sometimes you get the nightmares, sometimes the negativity is there, sometimes you take a very hasty decisions which can really hamper your mind. So basically we have talked about 3 pillars as of now. We have talked about body, which is again the outcome of the stressful life which we are leading. All things are talking in the perspective of the corporate life. The second was emotions. The emotions are always affected by the kind of corporate life which you are living. And of course, the mind is always engaged, so it is not a good sign, because you are always worrying and muddling your head, you're always thinking, and you take sometimes good decisions, sometimes bad decisions, sometimes hasty decisions. So again, this is not good for the organizations of today. Now, overall, there is an impact on the behavior. So the last part of the 4th pillar we talk about is the behavior. Now definitely when you talk about the behavior, sometimes when you're working, you're so stressful that you forget your meals which you have to take. Again, they are very important for your physical health of the body. So there's a loss of appetite, and you become accident prone because you're always nervous, you're always occupied. And sometimes people develop a habit of drinking alcohol. Some people develop the habit of smoking alcohol, smoking tobacco. Some people are insomniac, and some people are always into the kind of intoxication, because the intoxication they, as per them, gives them a peace of mind, because you forget the world. And of course all these things again are bad for the body. So all these things are reflected in your behavior when you're overstressed and overworked. So I mean, in this backdrop, we need the spirituality at any cost. In the yesteryears, the spirituality was ignored because the spirituality was all about the religion, and people used to have a very different parameters about the spirituality, that is only the prayers and only the chanting aspects and so on and so forth. But there is a deep meaning of spirituality, and it is some way different from the religion, because here you are actually transforming yourself, you are changing your thought process, you are taking positivity into your work style, and we'll talk about it as we move on with the presentation further. So now we talk about why spirituality at workplace. Let us have a look on this. The individuals and the organizations can see work as an opportunity to grow and contribute to society in a very meaningful way. So it leads to the values and the management by objectives. Now, when you talk about the spirituality, so spirituality, when you practice at the workplace, it is definitely you're going to change your outlook towards the work. Now you take work as basically an opportunity where you can grow and where you can contribute in a very meaningful way. There's no stress, there's no foundation for you to complete your work, and you are transformed in such a way that you start enjoying your work, you start taking the work as an opportunity, and you start thinking that yes, this kind of a contribution is very important from the perspectives of the organizational and achieving the organizational goals. So basically whatever you do, whatever you are engaged into, whatever decisions you take, they are all based on the values. Again, these values are the moral values which are acceptable by the society and which signifies the goodness and the badness of the acts, the rightness and the wrongness of the acts. Of course, when you practice the spirituality, you can never go on a wrong way. You can never practice something which is not good and detrimental from the societal point of view. So you're always engaged in such activities which is going to benefit the society at large. So this is a kind of a totalitarianism which is the result of practicing the spirituality. Now there is one story which I would like to highlight here. It is very, very interesting, and it is basically anti-materialism, which is definitely when you practice the spirituality, you are not into any kind of materialism, which is very, very important. Not only this is not going to, this is definitely going to break that race of running after money, the rat race, and everyone is, somewhere down the line is always for money, money and money. But yes, this kind of a story is very important for the students to understand that materialism is not everything. It is something, but it is not everything. So let us have a look on this very short story of one slide. Once a tourist came to India and went to a monk who was living in a very small cottage. He found that there are only a bedsheet and a lantern in his room. The tourist was surprised. He asked, "Where is your furniture, Swamiji?" The answer came. The monk asked him, "Where is yours?" He said, "Simply, I am a visitor." The tourist replied, whereas the answer of the monk was very, very amazing. He said, "So am I." So basically, when you talk about the materialism, whatever, we are all perishable human beings, and we come empty-handed and we go empty-handed. So you should not be carrying on the money perspective every time, because we are all tourists here. We will complete our journey and we will go back. We are coming from the environment and we will be merged into the environment. We have nothing got when we are born, and we will nothing take away anything when we are gone. We will be turning into ashes. So this is a very beautiful message which is coming out of this story, that yes, you should never be always going after the materialism aspects. You should always practice the spirituality at large, because there are so many benefits and so many outcomes, good outcomes after practicing of this spirituality, which is very good from the individual's point of view, but it is most amazingly very, very important and a very, very good parameter for the organizational point of view also. So according to Swami Vivekananda, there is a saying that all the power lies within you. So again, this is a very beautiful message, that it is the thought process which is impacted and influenced by the spiritual practice, which you should always practice, because all the power is within you, nothing is beyond you. So you have to understand yourself, a kind of a self-actualization, which is one stage of spirituality. So if you start understanding yourself, if you start understanding the power which you have got, and if you awaken yourself in terms of the self-actualization, you can achieve anything. And again, there is a saying, whatever you conceive, whatever you see, you can achieve. So there is nothing impossible in this world in terms of achievement, in terms of undermining yourself. You should always think that yes, whatever is happening for good. Whatever will happen for good. And we should not be always materialism, which is most important for you. You should always practice the spirituality at the best, so that we are able to achieve the organizational goals and we are able to achieve a path of the success very nicely. So in terms of and in this backdrop, which is enough for engaging the two aspects, that is the workplace spirituality and the human resource management, because it is the human resources which you have to transform, which they have to practice, and only then the goals of practicing of spirituality can be achieved. So let us have now the deep insights of what the interactions and interrelationship of these two aspects. Spirituality in the context of the work is increasing and gaining importance of the business, not only in India but across the globe. This urges the researcher in the business and the management to question how is spirituality understood and practiced in the work organizations. I mean, since this is a very new area, very contemporary area, so you must understand that what is the benefit of practicing the spirituality at workplace. So the answers will be there in front of you shortly as we move on with this presentation. Spirituality in an organization helps the people to do a very creative work, the insightful, the development of rules and overcoming the fears of the failure. Now we say that when you talk about the spirituality, if you practice, all your fears will be over, because eventualities you can see, and the eventualities is that yet yes, we can always achieve. So whatever fears you have, they are just completely wiped out, they are rooted out if you are practicing the spiritualities, because you will be overcoming all your timid thoughts about your basic fears which they come in mind of the human beings, that yes, I will not be able to do this, I will not be able to do that. So these kind of views will not have any kind of a room when you practice the spirituality at the workplace. So this is amazingly the best advantage of practicing the spirituality at the workplace or the organizations of today. Now spirituality in an organization, it helps the people to do the creative work, to overcome the fears, to have the insightness, and the results of the current studies, they also suggest that spirituality in the organizations can play a vital role in effectively managing the people in the organization. And the organizational spirituality also implies the opportunity to grow and contribute to something substantial. So when you talk about this practicing of spirituality, we have always been practicing this from our home, from our thoughts, from our work. Some people, they are sitting in front of the God and they say this is a spirituality. Some people, they put it into action and they say the action is spirituality. So it is the way you think and the way you work that spirituality comes your way. Some people meditate and they say that this is a spirituality. So spirituality has different connotations and different meanings, and all the meanings are correct in terms of your parameters, in terms of your thoughts, in terms of your actions which you pursue. So basically, when you practice the organizations of today, there are so many empirical studies in this context, and they say that it is very difficult to manage the people otherwise, but if you practice this spirituality, it becomes very easier for you to understand the people, to manage the people. I mean, basically spirituality corrects you only. That is the way you think, the way you work, the way you carry on with the organizational activities. Everything will be corrected on its own. Earlier you were a fault finder, but now you will find faults in yourself and you start correcting yourself. So this is the magic of spirituality, and definitely all the good value-driven actions, they are very fruitful for the organizations. Now for a long time, the spiritual component has been ignored by the companies, possibly out of the fear that the workplace will be turned into a religion and it will be a war zone, because you have so much of diversity at the workplace. Some people are Hindus, some people are Sikhs, some people are Christians, some people are Muslims. So everyone has its own religion, and there is a very simple connotation that religion and spirituality are one. Yes, they are one, but yes, there is a slight difference in terms of how you think and how you practice it. Basically, when you talk about turning into a very religious place, it is basically you try and worship your gods, like the Muslims, they do namaz, the Sikhs, they go to gurudwaras, the Hindus, we go to mandirs, etc. So it is, the way is different, but the attainment is only one, that is, we have only one God, but the directions and the ways which we achieve those God is different. So this is one thing, but yes, spirituality is something beyond it. So it is the outcome of these religious thoughts that you embed in yourself, and you start putting those good value driven actions in your actions, and that is basically a spirituality. So it is the wrong myth that if you practice this spirituality, it is the organization is going to be turning into a war zone. So this is not good, because war zone, here we are not talking about the fights, here we are talking about the resolutions of the fights, and the spirituality always helps us in resolving these kind of problems in us. However, spirituality has made its mark in the global business of today, and the times have come for the companies to start engaging their employees spiritually by giving attention to the concept of bringing the persons wholly to work. So there's a transformation. When you practice the spirituality, the people will start practicing, the people will start transforming themselves, and they are very happy to come to their workplace and do their duties very well. Now, the spiritual intelligence is also called as a wisdom, or the application of the knowledge which is definitely gathered from your religion and other good areas of your religion. There is a purpose for everything, and there is a high power that affects everything. This is the basic principle of spirituality, and the spirituality is a feeling that no matter how bad things happen, they will always work out somehow. So we can see these are the beautiful words which the spirituality conveys us. That is, if you have any bad feeling for somebody, it will go away. If you have problems with something, it will go away. And automatically it's a self-correcting action that whatever goes wrong will be corrected automatically. Now the concept of spirituality. The spirituality is a broader concept with the point of views. In general, it includes a sense of belonging to something larger than us, and it usually involves a search for a meaning in life. Now, some people are lost, they are always stressful, they are always at, they are restless. So, if they start practicing this spirituality, they will start realizing that yes, nothing is going to take, we are not going to take anything when we die. So, they stop running after the concept of the shortcuts in their life, that is making of money, etc. And they start lifting the veil of having a real meaning of life, and they start understanding that this is the real concept and the meaning of life. And it is a very universal human experience, something that affects all of us. And people can describe a very spiritual experience or sacred or transcendent or simply a deep sense of vitality and interconnection. So this is, you have to understand that if you practice the spirituality, you will start understanding the basic meaning of life. You will describe this as a sacred experience, a transcendent experience, and spirituality is a way of life. And how did you experience? How did you study? How do you live? How do you understand? And how you act is all called as spirituality. Thank you so much. So, what is the rationale of spirituality at workplace? We are not fools that we practice the spirituality and start embedding the principles and the basic insights of spirituality at workplace. There must be some rationale behind it. So let us have now a discussion on what is the rationale behind practicing the spirituality at workplace. The employee, they misbehave in the organizations. So employee misbehavior could create a misalignment to the company's values, which could jeopardize the company's success. Now, there is a strong conviction that if the people start their own way, that is, they are very individualistic in nature, they stop thinking about the corporate values, they stop thinking about the company at large. So this is definitely the outcome of this, is that the company's success goals and the success rate is going to be jeopardized. So this is one reason of practicing the spirituality at workplace, that people will start thinking beyond at a larger level, at a broader level, and they would start understanding the basic meaning that yes, individualism is subordinate to generalism. And overall, if you take the benefit of the people at large, if you take the universality concept at large, the individualistic concept will be a subordinate concept. So this is the basic and the highest concept of introducing the spirituality at workplace, that you start realizing that there is something larger, and inner self-integration is most important. That is, the individual concept is lesser, whereas if you see the larger self of yours, everybody is your friend. That is the Vasudev Kutum. That is, the whole world is your family. So you will start thinking the concept of a family at a larger level, and you will stop thinking about yourself, which is the very individualistic in nature. There is no harm considering yourself at the center point, but yes, taking people at large is even better. So the concept of comparison of individualism with the universalism is the most important categorization and the differentiation, which only can and only be taught by spirituality. Now, as has been observed in the company, that there was a research, the work environment could become more fertile with the elements such as materialism, competition, distrust, insecurity, suspicion, corruption, dishonesty, which are contrary to the company's values. So by practicing this spirituality, all these things will be better, and people will start thinking themselves again, which is beyond your comprehension, that yes, larger self of yours is better, and you should work towards giving the benefits of the people at large, not to the individuals. Now, due to the observation made by a researcher in a study, which is a real-time study, it gave rise to the research focus of whether a link exists between the values of the employees and the company's values. That is, where the company's values are portrayed as is appear to be a misaligned concept. In the opinion of the researcher, the negative elements mentioned which could be present in the company may be caused by the human being's tendency towards selfishness and greediness. So again, this concept and the study was proved that yes, there is a company value, there is an individual value. The company's values are most important, but if you start practicing and realizing your own self and your own values, the company's values would not be achieved, and definitely it is mainly because of your greediness, your selfishness, which is the anti company's values, and this again will be taught and embedded if you practice the spirituality at workplace, and you would start understanding the importance of the company's values rather than yourself. Now, if these elements are present, it could create a scenario where the members of one team could become each other's rivals, which is again not good for the organization at large. So this could create a misalignment of the company's values and the expectations. We employ people, we employ so many workforce to achieve the organizational goals. We have certain company values, but if all the people start thinking their own way, that is, it is their way or highway, this is not good. So all these things, which is a kind of a misalignment, will be taught to them if by practicing of the spirituality, they would start understanding that they are wrong, and practicing of the company's values, giving importance to the company values and keeping that on the top level of the management would always be good for the organization. Now, employees finding themselves in such a situations, they have to deal with the added stress or the troubled work environment, the job itself, as well as on their personal life challenges. Of course, when you talk about the personal life and the professional life of the organizational people, it is not a watertight compartment. Whatever you feel good if you're feeling good at your personal life, you would be showing better at your official life also, or your professional life also. So there's a strong spillover from either side. If you are stressed from your corporate side, it is going to have impact on your family life, which is again negative. And if you are feeling negative at home, it is again going to have a negative spillover on the professional life. So spirituality teaches you to be calm. It teaches you to be positive. It teaches you to be how you can attain a value-based action. So when you are transformed as an individual by practicing all these values which the spirituality teaches you, again, I'm not taking the religion here. The spirituality is much more and a bigger and a broader concept, which the good values again are derived from the religion, but we are here not talking about the religion, we are talking about the spirituality at large, that is taking all the benefits of the spirituality and putting it into the corporate life. So this is definitely going to give you the management of the people very easy, and the people will also be transformed, and they would start realizing that the corporate values are much more higher than the personal values. I mean, they will stop working in a very hostile environment, and because again, if you are not taking this in a right spirit, the people will have fights, people will have a negative concepts, there will be a conflict in the organization, there will be a always holistic and approach which you should follow in terms of spirituality to overcome all these fears, to overcome all these situations, and overall the organizational goals, effectiveness, profits and performance would be higher if you practice the spirituality at the workplace. So if one considers that the employee spends most of their time at work, such conditions could be very toxic for them, and they could have the emotional pressures, the physical pressures and the spiritual health and the well-being. So if you talk about the spiritual environment in the organization, it is going to create a very positive atmosphere in the organization. People will not be hostile to each other. The competitive environment will no more be there, rather the friendship environment, a congenial environment, a good environment would prevail. So which will have a very positive linkages with the performance, with the profitability, and for the wellness of the organization as a whole. Now coming on to the principles of spirituality, which is very, very important to understand that what are the basic principles of spirituality and how it is going to benefit the organization as a whole. Let us here have a look on the principles of spirituality in the business. Now Nishkam Karam from Bhagavad Gita, the 3 C's of spirituality at workplace, Mahatma Gandhi concept of trusteeship, vertical and horizontal spirituality through meditation, and implementation of the corporate governance. So we have seen here in this slide that we have basically the 4 spiritual principles which we will be discussing one by one. The first is Nishkam Karma from Bhagavad Gita. This particular principle states that do your work but do not expect the results. If you keep on doing your duties very well, it is very good for the organization, and this is one of the spiritual practice which is definitely going to have a very positive impact on the performance, profitability and overall wellness of the organization. That you should never think about the results, you should always be engaged in completing your responsibilities as a whole, and you should not be bothered about the results. So do not worry about the results, do your work and attain your work-life balance. Because if you always start thinking about that this is what I have done and I've been doing this work, I've been not given any kind of a recognition in the organization, this is going to give and fill you with a negative feeling. So this should not be practiced. So you should always complete your responsibilities and your work, and you should not be worrying about the results. The second is 3 C's of spiritualities. Let us have a look on this. The first is connection. The second is compassion, and the third is the contribution. The first is connection, that is Vasudev Kutumba, that is Vasudev is the earth and Eva is the Kutumbakam, that is the family. So that is, you consider yourself as a part of the larger self, and you should consider the whole world as your family. This is first C of spirituality. The second is your compassion. Compassion means that you should have always, you should be compassionate about your fellow animal and plant kingdom. You should never jeopardize or do any harm to them. The third is the contribution, that is the contribution to the welfare of the society through the corporate social responsibility. So they are the three beautiful concepts of spirituality. If you practice at workplace, definitely it is going to have good wonders, and it will be again good for the wellness of the organization. That is, you should be having a connection with the people at large, and you should always think primarily for the benefits of the people at large, because the whole world is your family, that is the Vasudev Kutumba. Then is you should be compassionate about the plant and the animal, that is the flora and the fauna. And next is you should contribute towards the society, because it is because of the society that you are there. And the next is your trusteeship principles of Mahatma Gandhi. Let us have a look on this. The nature provides enough to satisfy man's need, but not his greed. So you should focus on inclusive growth, and the growth should be individual whole. That is, you should do something in a very sustainable manner. If you are using the resources of the organization, if you are using the resources of the society at large, do it. But you should keep enough for the future generations also. So if you have these three perspectives in mind, then definitely you are practicing the spirituality at workplace. And the last is your vertical and horizontal spirituality. Let us have a look on this. What is a vertical spirituality? To realize the divine plan and to recognize the nature of our existence. And horizontal and spirituality is what? Taking these realizations and adapting the divine potential in the real world. So this is again practicing of the horizontal and vertical spirituality is again good for the wellness of the organizations. The last fourth pillar of the principles of spirituality is all about the corporate governance. Corporate governance is a code or the rules according to which the company is governed. It is a system by which the business corporations are directed and controlled. So it decides on the character of the companies, it directs on the values, it directions on the relationships with its customers, employees, communities, and the shareholders. So the corporate governance is also at the heart of spirituality, that you should never do anything wrong in terms of the character, in terms of values, and in terms of relationships which you have to keep with your associates. In terms of the associates could be a customer, it could be an employee, it could be a community, and it could be a shareholder. So overall holistic approach has to be followed at the workplace. So we have now seen the basic insights of what spirituality means, what business means, the interrelationship between them, and we talked about the principles of spirituality at workplace. So definitely we must be seeing certain benefits out of implementation of the spirituality at workplace. So now is the time to understand that what is the basic benefits which you derive after practicing of spirituality at workplace. So let us have a look on this. Those who are strongly motivated from the spiritual orientation can see clearly that there are many possible benefits to be gained from embracing the spirituality at work. The benefits evolve from really knowing how to treat people well, and they thrive and are able to accomplish their best within the organization. So this is the first and the foremost benefit of practicing of spirituality at workplace, that the people's management becomes easier, and people will have a very positive and different outlook if they practice the spirituality at workplace. And if the people are spiritually high, it is definitely very easy to understand them and to control them and to overall work with them. The people can be highly productive, innovative, cooperative in the right environments, because there is no negativity around. People are always encouraged. So definitely when the work is congenial, the work atmosphere is congenial and good, definitely the creativity would be at the best, and definitely they will always show a kind of a cooperation which is very essential for the success of the organization. Now they can feel very fulfilled through their work and know that they do each day is of a value. This brings an important sense of meaningful and a job satisfaction to them. It generates happy and enthusiastic employees and the productivity rises. Invoking the spirituality is a way to create good environment where people can thrive and flourish. So overall, till now we have seen that the work management becomes easy, the productivity would go up, the profitability would go up, the environment in which the people will work will be fun filled, the people will be more enthusiastic, the employees would be more happy to work with you, the productivity will go up, and definitely the work environments in which we are working would also be more congenial and good. Now, in a spiritual work environment, people will thrive because of the following reasons. First, the organizations through the line management takes a personal interest in their development and success. So, if a personal interest is taken, definitely it is good for the organization. Number two, people are encouraged to be the they can be, and the last is they are appreciated, challenged and excited at the opportunities, because the people and the business leaders, they promote the trust and empowerment. So we have seen that all kind of values driven approaches are embedded in the spirituality at workplace, owing to which the people will show better results, better performance, more profits, congenial atmosphere, and will always be on a success path of development, which is again very good for the organization, because if the people are good, the organization is going to thrive very well, and the profits would be there in the future prospects of the company. Now, participation in a very collaborative dialogue is encouraged here, because earlier, if you do not practice the spirituality, there will be a hostility always, and the competitive environment will always be negative. But yes, here if you talk from the spiritual point of view, the basic base which is a part of the organization spirituality is that people will start cooperating with each other. Sometimes they work, sometimes the others will work, but yes, the overall results would be a very best results, which is again good for the organizational health. The employees are supported, they are coached, and they are always thanked. So that means a feeling of recognition is always achieved by the employees, which is definitely a very thriving force for them to be motivated again from the productivity point of view. The success will always be noted, will always be celebrated, because their recognition is the most important factor which we do. If your boss comes your way and pat your back, you will be very happy, and that kind of an encouragement will always be possible if you practice the spirituality with all the good feelings and with the compassion, with the love and affection, which is definitely going to give a very good outcome, that is the good congenial atmosphere in the organization. But there are many businesses which are unlike this. Rather, they are running in ways that empathize rationality, process, finance, short-term efficiency, and the financial outcomes are often seen as a whole, a measure of success. So, control mechanisms which are in place lead to self-centered behaviors. So, we have to see the flip side also, that the organizations which are not following the spirituality, they suffer from all these things, which is definitely not good for the organization. Now let us come on to another topic called spirituality and the well-being. People spend a lot of their time to work, partly derive their social identity from their workplace, that yes, he's a manager, he's a chief manager, etc. So what happens on the job is important for the mental and the physical well-being. Managing people in a way that is consistent with their spiritual values may also help in establishing an overall sense of well-being and the health, because they would understand that this is the way we can manage the people. Not only this, the well-being of the employees is a very serious issue, especially in the jobs which can be highly stressful, such as policing, the armed forces, fire services and other emergency services. Even in more secular society, it is recognized that the spiritual needs of the staff should be supported, as Her Majesty Introspect of the Constable points out. As the credit crisis intensifies, some of the experiences of the modern workplaces are becoming more closer to those of the experienced police officers also. The fear of large-scale redundancies, other stress-related aspects. So they are definitely the conditions of trauma, and this can be definitely wiped out if you practice the spirituality at workplace. So dealing with the spiritual aspects, it is definitely going to wipe all the the corporate challenges of today, which is definitely good for the organizations. You know how to manage people, you know how to take care of the environment, the competitive environment, and overall the negativity would be wiped out, the corporate culture would be better, and you'll be able to do the things in a very better way, because everything is directed towards achieving the organizational goals, the high performance levels, the commitment, so on and so forth. So there is one importance of a free choice which we talk about here. The danger with this argument is that the organizations may decide to use spirituality as a means to generate productivity or the profits. The organizational spirituality itself becomes meaningless if it is used to increase the control of the employees. So it has to be a free choice. Of course, we have to generate good profits, we have to generate the profit in a good way, and of course we have to show the people that we are there for you, and a feeling of compassionate and love has to thrive and flow throughout the organizations of today. So openness to the organizational spirituality should provide a free choice to them, and elements of free choice will allow a resistance and deviance as per the argument of receptivity. Organizational spirituality enables the individuals to uncover their greater meaning for themselves at work rather than having a meaning prescribed by the organizations. So it gives a meaning to the work, it gives a meaningful aspects to the life, it gives a meaning to the workplace. You start understanding people nicely, the creativity would be at best, the people will not be into hostile activities. So these are, the list is not exhaustive, but yes, these are the possible benefits of practicing the spirituality at a workplace. So basically it emphasizes on the sustainability, the value contributions would be more, because we talk about the morals, we talk about the rightness and the wrongness of the acts. Again, the creativity which is required to innovate, because when you innovate, it is good commercially also. It cultivates the inclusions, it develops the good principles in the organizations. And of course, let us come on to the last aspect and the last slide of this presentation. So individuals and the organizations should start seeing work as a spiritual path. They should always see everything as an opportunity to grow and to contribute to the society in a very meaningful way. Care, compassion, support of others and integrity needs to be a part of the self always. And the last message is Vasudev Kutum, that is, the whole world is your family. So these are the possible benefits which you can actually derive after practicing this spirituality at workplace. I hope you have understood the new and the contemporary aspects of practicing of spirituality at workplace. So thank you so much.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. And dear friends, keep watching us and keep writing us. We would be meeting again very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you once again.